I'm here with Anthony Smith, UFC light heavyweight, who is fighting in a couple weeks, but you had a different kind of fight at home, and man, what a crazy story hearing about all this, Anthony. First off, let me ask, man, how is the family? How is everyone going after going through this kind of insane incident?
Everyone's good, man. Emotionally, the kids are scared, and my wife is having a hard time with it. She's never been through anything like this, and so they're having a hard time sleeping. The kids are sleeping in my bedroom, so we got a full bed right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. So walk me through exactly what happened. Obviously, I know a bit of the background of the story, but for those that don't, let's kind of walk through everything. So this all happened late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Is that correct?
Yeah. It was about 4:00, just after 4:00 in the morning, Sunday morning.
Okay. So what exactly happened?
So my wife wakes me up in a panic and just hits me hard and says, "Anthony, someone's in the house." So I sat up and I heard a man's voice screaming from somewhere deep and dark. I mean, I said this before, but I've never heard a man scream like that, or a person. It was so dark, and it was terrifying. And you just gotta go find out what it is. I gotta get out there. So I turned the corner, and there's a strange man standing in my computer room about 15-ish feet from me, and he's kind of flexing at me, and he's walking my way, and he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. So I just took off. I decided to run him over.
Yeah.
And that's where the chaos started.
So basically you tackle him? Is that what happened?
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how we ended up on the ground, but I know that I was just running towards him, and I believe I just ran him over, and just forced him to the ground. And we never left the spot that we were in. That's where we ended up for the next about 6 minutes. Wow. And it was just it was just chaos. It was just fighting the whole time.
Now, obviously you're a professional fighter, so you're well trained at this, but this is such a unique position. Like, are you trying to restrain this guy? Are you actually hitting him? Like, what is going on? Is he trying to hit you? Like, what's going on?
He did at the very beginning. He kind of swung right away. And then he was just, he was trying to get up. And he was trying to tuck his hands in his hoodie. And I'm trying to control his hands, and I'm hitting him all at the same time. I mean, listen, man, when I engaged him, I was positive he had a weapon. I thought it was he's going to have a gun or a knife. Nobody comes in your house at 4 a.m. with no weapons, right? So I'm thinking he's here to hurt me, and he's coming my way. So my plan was just to it sounds morbid, man, but I was just trying to cave his head in as quickly as possible. Because I was sure that there was going to be a gunshot that was going to go off shortly, and I needed to do as much damage as I could to make sure that when the ensuing death that I thought was coming my way. It sounds stupid now, but at the time, that's how it felt. So, if he stabbed me in the stomach or shot me in the chest in a scuffle, I needed to do as much damage as I could to make sure that my family could get out, or at the very least, finish him off.
Wow, that's terrifying. I mean, I think fear is underrated. I think it's okay to be afraid. Can I imagine that is a pretty terrifying moment?
I've never been more. I wish there was a better word, but I can only use the word terrified. I've never been more terrified of anything in my whole life. Jeez. That second that I kind of turned the corner around out of the bedroom and seen him. And he was screaming, in that second. I've never been more afraid of anything in my whole life. And the worst part is there's nothing you can do about it. You can't run from that. There's nowhere to go. He's in my house. So there's only one thing standing between my 3 daughters and him, and it's me. So it's what do you do? You don't have a choice. Yeah.
And I had heard that, the guy wasn't like, a huge guy. He wasn't a small guy either. But from my understanding, like, and again, we've seen what you've done in your fights. And I'm not making little of the situation. I'm just saying you're a big, strong, you're the number 2 ranked light heavyweight in the world or whatever. You're a big, strong guy. And this guy kept resisting. So I'm imagining, and again, I'm not trying to point fingers, but he had to be on something, right? Like, because he kept coming, right? That's what you said?
I mean, they're saying that they don't think so, but it sounds like so as the days have gone on, we found out a lot more information. So we found out that he was just arrested for domestic violence and beat up 2 females in a house. He's got a handful of protection orders against him, and he's got a long history of mental illness. So it sounds like he was just in the middle of a psychotic breakdown, and he was just going from vehicle to vehicle, house to house, trying to, and nobody knows what he was going to do, but he's got a long history of violence and mental illness. So I'm assuming that mental state that he was in is very similar to some sort of drug or something like that. But that definitely makes sense for why he was so strong and he was so durable. That was what shocked me. Like, I'm not surprised that he was strong, because as much as I was in a fight or flight situation, so was he, and his adrenaline was spiked, and he, so I wasn't too shocked that he was strong. I was shocked that he was able to absorb the punishment. I mean, honestly, I don't even care. Like, I'll tell the truth. Like, I was trying to crack his skull. I mean, I was elbows and punches and dropping knees like I was Rampage Jackson. I mean, it was excuse me. It was everything I had. I gave him everything I had, bro, until I realized he didn't have a weapon, and that's when I backed off a little bit. But for those first 2 minutes, when I thought that he had something, he got 110% of everything Anthony Smith has. Jeez. And he was conscious at the end of it.
And at this point, your wife is calling 911. There was a 911 call being placed at the same time, right?
Yeah. We were scuffling for about a minute before she was able to get a phone and get the call, because she's, man, again, I got to reiterate, like, I'm so proud of my family and how brave they were. She had ultimate faith in me that she can get the kids taken care of first, and then she can call 911. So, and that's what she did. She went straight to the kids, and then she had to find a phone, and then she called 911. So it was about a minute of him and I going at it before she was able to get on the phone to 911.
Yeah, and then did the police come pretty quickly? Like, did they arrive pretty quickly to your house? Because from my understanding, you were still struggling with this guy when the cops showed up. Is that true?
Yeah. He fought the whole time. He never stopped. So the 911 phone call was like 5 minutes and 4 seconds, or 5 minutes and 5 seconds, something like that. So from the time she called till they walked in the door, it was just over 5 minutes.
So they made it there pretty quickly, which is good.
Well, I believe they had gotten several calls before, and so I think they were already headed this way anyways.
Okay, so they come in. Now, were they able to restrain him pretty quickly, or like what happened at that point once the cops get there?
It was just one cop that came in initially. Like, they didn't come in together, it wasn't like 4 or 5 together. There ended up being about 10 here, plus the crime scene investigators, plus ambulance, fire, all that stuff. So he came in right away, busted right through the door, and then the trade-off was kind of sketchy. Like, he got one wrist, and then the kid started fighting again, and or started fighting harder once he realized he was getting arrested. So then it kind of took both of us for just a handful of seconds to kind of get him in a position where he could cuff him, and they actually couldn't get him, and I couldn't get him still long enough to get him cuffed. Actually, the other cop had to come in and ended up getting him cuffed. So it took 3 of us.
Wow. And when they stood up, when the whole thing stood up, he gets out. He apologized to you? The guy actually apologized to you on the way out?
Yeah, man, it was so weird. Like, he went through so many different emotions. Like, there was a couple times where there was moments of clarity and calmness for just a second, and then he'd freak out again. But I had some words for him when it was all over with, and he's sitting Indian style. This poor little puppy dog face. He's all cut up. He's bleeding. He's battered. He's swollen. And I'm just, I'm just emotionally abusing him. Like, I'm just telling him everything I wanted to say. And he looked right up at me. I'll never forget it, and said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." I'm like, what? I just couldn't believe it. There was a point where, at the very end, right before the cops got there, there's a funny little point. My wife wasn't wearing pants the whole time. So at the end, before the cops walked in the door, when the N911 operator told him that, the cops they're 4 houses away, my wife hurried up and ran to the bedroom and put pants on. She didn't have any pants on. But right before that, he starts to curl up in a little ball. And of course, a lot of people don't know this, but it's super hard to control someone when they're curling up in a little ball. It's hard to get a hold of their hands and stuff. So she grabbed his legs and went to stretch his legs out. And, I tell him, and it was a bunch of curse words, like, don't you dare kick my wife. And then he relaxed, turned his head and said, "Okay, I won't." And he never did.
So bizarre.
Like he was saying that as if like I would cross that line, like I'll come in your house and try to do whatever I'm going to do to you, but I would never kick your wife. That's how he said it.
Wow.
That was like, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. And, at the very beginning, I think he was shocked at first. Maybe at the power, of me just running him over like that. Because for a second he looked terrified. And so at the beginning, I was like, is he scared? And then I think his adrenaline spiked, and that's when he freaked out.
Yeah.
So it was just 2 guys fighting, and I wasn't stopping, and neither was he.
Yeah, and from my understanding, because we saw a ring video that's been kind of circulated around, that he had gotten into another house, he had gotten into another car, like he was making a pattern around the neighborhood. He ended up in the wrong house in your house, and that's where the whole string ended. But he didn't, from my understanding, he didn't steal things. He didn't try to steal a car, but he did walk into another house, walked into a car, like all kinds of other stuff in the same neighborhood, right?
Yeah. There was a guy, one of my neighbors, he's about, 4 houses down, woke up and he was in his bedroom.
Oh my God.
And doing that same screaming thing. And that guy scared him out. So that ring video that everybody sees, I think everyone's under the impression that that's him trying to get in for the first time. That's actually after he was chased out of the back door. The door was locked behind him. So he ran around to the front to try to get in the front door. So that's actually him trying to get back in the house.
Oh my gosh. So all this goes down. The cops finally show up and pull him away. Like, what is the average, in the days since then? Obviously, this was late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Like, what have you been told? Like, have the cops contacted you? Because obviously, you're not at fault. You're defending your home. But so I don't know how much you're in the loop on this kind of stuff. But like, what happened to this guy? Have you heard anything?
Yeah, no, they're not at fault for anything. The cops are, and I told them everything I told you, like, and everything I've told anyone else. The same thing I told Ariel. I was trying to beat him to death because at the beginning, when I realized he didn't have any weapons, I backed off. So, like all this stuff is coming out. Like all the neighbors have been piecing together all their camera videos, and so we have him for about. Yesterday we had him for about 12 minutes. Today we got about 4 or 5 more minutes of activity as he's making his way here. Eventually we're going to find out where he came from. And that's my goal. I just want to find out where he was because he doesn't live anywhere around here. So I don't know if he's got a friend or he's got a buddy or whatever. But eventually we're going to track him all the way back to where it started.
Yeah.
So he's got multiple trespassing charges. And then just more stuff keeps coming. I just keep getting more stuff. And it's not even really me searching for it. Like people are just like, "Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this." So it's, and that's kind of what it looked like. And really, it's just trying to make sure my family's okay. They're upset and they're bad and scared and not sleeping well and that's just how that stuff goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds pretty scary, especially considering this guy has a history of domestic violence. You mentioned other incidents on his record. I mean, obviously, again, I don't want to punish. I don't want to damn the guy before he's had a chance to go before a court. But I hope they keep this guy. Give this guy some serious care because it seems like something's really off there, and this is a repeated behavior. And at some point, that's got to stop, man. Because that, like I said, thankfully, you are who you are. But
he's gonna kill somebody eventually. Yeah. He's gonna kill someone eventually because. Fortunately, that he came in this house, and later, 2 houses down. I'm happy about that. So it's better me than anyone else. But at the end of the day, he was violent as he came down the way. So I hope he gets the help he needs. But at the end of the day, for lack of better words, fuck him. Like, it sucks. But at the end of the day, like, I gotta do what I got to do to protect my family, and I offer no apologies for that. But I do hope that he gets help, and that he's a young kid, 22, 23 years old. Like, he, like, he's got a lot of life ahead of him, and I hope that it doesn't continue like it is now.
Yeah. This is a weird question to ask you, Anthony, but I mean, physically, like, because again, you didn't get hurt, and your family didn't get hurt, which is most important. But, and I know this sounds weird, but you're punching this guy, you're elbowing this guy. Like, how are you physically? Did you take any damage doing this? Because I know, all it takes is one inadvertent punch and you break your hand. Like, how are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. My elbows are fine. My hands are a little sore, but I mean, that's pretty typical for me. My hands are always sore, so I got bruised up knees, elbows, and that's it, man. So I'm healthy overall.
Yeah. Now this is tough, and it's almost like I feel almost bad asking you this question because obviously right now the thing that matters most is your family and what just happened to you. But you do have a fight coming up in a couple of weeks. What is it? What like do you still want to fight? Like, or do you? Because again, this is such a I would be freaked out. Like, but I'm not you. I'm not a fighter, so I don't know how you react to something like that.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to let this guy affect what I have to do and my ability to provide for my family. So, excuse me. Sorry, my throat's all scratchy from all the yelling I did. No, man, I'm going to go, and I am going to ask the UFC when they charter all my travel and all that stuff, if I can bring them with me. Because it's not even about me worried about him coming back or whatever. It's just I don't want to leave them because I want them to feel comfortable. So I'm going to see if the UFC will allow me to bring my family with and put them up. And honestly, the UFC's been fantastic. They've called every single day. They've checked on me. They've told me anything I need. Let them know, even down to legal help if this guy tries to sue me for the damages, because apparently that's something that happens a lot. Burglars will break in, get injured, and then sue the homeowner's insurance. So the UFC said that they back me and support me 100%. So I'll probably try to take them with me and just, if we're going to have to self-quarantine for a couple weeks afterwards, and that's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah. It's crazy to even think about that, right? Like, obviously, at the end of the day, like, a fight seems like the least of your concerns when you go through something like this, but I know that's what you've been training for. And we talked, whatever it was, like a week and a half ago before all this happened, it was literally, I think it was 2 days before this incident happened, that, you were just training and getting ready for a fight. And it seems weird to even think about that now, but I know that's what you love to do. That's what you train to do.
Yeah, that's it, man. And at the end of the day, thank God I did. Thank God I'm ready. Thank God I'm in shape. Cause this situation here at my house might look different had I not been in fight shape. So, but I'm going to continue on, man. I've been through a lot of adversity the last 10 months. It's the 2 surgeries, the hand injury, the knee injury, now they're dealing with the coronavirus bullshit. And I didn't come this far to only come this far, So,
yeah.
And I'm not letting this guy dictate, my day to day. Obviously there's stuff I have to deal with because I do have daughters and I do have a wife. But as far as me, I'm gonna continue on and I'm gonna do what I got to do. I set out on this mission to come back, and I'm back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Anthony, thank you for sharing the story, man. I really appreciate it. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I'm just glad the family's okay. I'm glad you're okay. That's such a terrifying situation, man. I think there's nobody in the world who would hope they never have to face that. So I can only imagine what it's like. So, I'm glad you're okay, and I'm glad the family's okay, man. That's what's most important.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, and make sure you stay in touch, brother.
Absolutely,
and wash your hands.
Thank you for taking the time. Safe training the rest of the way, man. I know it's been kind of crazy. Safe travels out to somewhere on planet Earth, as they're saying. So hopefully it's somewhere on Earth that you're fighting. And best of luck against Glover Teixeira, man. I'm sure we'll catch up afterwards.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.